Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Chassidus in the Morning. 15 minutes to change our lives. Today's share is sponsored by Shaina Brocha Benedict in honor of her wedding today. Mazel tov to Mordechai Fadlon. She have only brachos in Ariyad. Al Yisrael Atev Mitzvah as they are illuminated with the light of Chassidus. And also by Eliana and Chananyah Duthie for refuah shleima for Menachem Noach and Eliana Avivah. And it should have a refuah shleima and should be healthy as can be. We have 2 days left to finish the Maimer. We'll do it, no problem. Okay, basically what we're discussing, what we said yesterday, is a Mordechai idea. And ultimately, when we internalize the emunah that the Rebbe gives, that the Moshe Ben every generation gives, when we internalize that message, that causes that we add information. And like we said, that when you have obviously Yisroel, the general way of understanding obviously Yisroel, that's coming from that you make the neshama ikar and the guf tafel. Essentially, what you're saying is, I don't love the person because of their body and my body are separate. But I love them for the neshama, because our neshama is all one. But what the Rebbe is saying here is that when you reach the etzem and neshama, because that's who your etzem is, and that's revealed even in the kerch Elohim, even within you, where you are in this physical world, and not just when you're in a mode of nefesh, that causes that the obviously soul is also for the physical body of the person. That you don't have to just put the neshama ikar. The body can be ikar and it can also have obviously soul. A wild idea. And ultimately, like we said before, what we're essentially saying is that the Rebbe is giving us the ability to internalize godliness to an extent that it can permeate us all the way through, but ultimately it has to be ours. And what happens when it comes ours? Then it becomes when we give it to you. We give it to you, meaning we add it to Sephir's over Moshe. We add into the Rebbe. That's what we're discussing. Yeah, that's the Vikra Lecha. We bring to you, bring to Moshe. Okay, let's continue on from there. Page 408 in this Sefer, and near the end of Ois Yud Aleph, by all the other one. Now we can understand what it says in the Maimer, based on what we just explained. Through our avodah, through taking the emunah that the Moshe of the generation gives us, and we internalize it and make it our own, to the extent that it permeates us, that it takes us all the way through and through, that even the Kerech Elohim is living on this level. And that causes the ner tamid. But like we said in the beginning, why does it say me'er boike ner tamid? And there is going to explain this part. Ner tamid means that the light of menorah, there should be ner tamid. What does it mean? This is that the light of the neshama, meaning the light of the neshama of a person. This is the ner who tamid the fact that it's tamid. It's ner tamid. How do you make this light in the spiritual sense of this ner tamid? How do you make that the light of your neshama being shining tamid? It's through Moshe revealing and giving us the ability to reveal that etzem and neshama, that's the ner that it should be tamid. That's the ata tave. That's the usual command. That's what Moshe is connecting us with Aaron Slave to help us reveal that etzem and neshama, the ner tamid, the ner. And our job is to, and he's giving us the ability with our efforts to make it tamid. The etzem and neshama ain't shaykh shinui. Because when you reach the etzem and neshama, there's no shinuyim. In the essence of the neshama, there's no changes. Nothing gets changed by what you do. It's the essence. It's like saying God changes. God doesn't change. So therefore, the etzem and neshama, which is one with the Eibishter, doesn't change. That's what it means, tamid. But that is true. Like we said before, it's through revealing it within us in a conscious level. And in the Maimer it says, so we're saying it's through Moshe revealing the etzem neshama with us. But in the Maimer we're saying it's through the Yidden. So is it through us or through Moshe's help? So Meisifim Madrigas Vikach Lecha. In the Maimon it says in the Talmud who Alideshi Shal Meisifim Madrigas Moshe. So we're saying that Moshe gives us the ability to have this Ner Talmud, but in the Maimon of the Fidukim, he's saying that it's through us. We give it to Moshe. Vikach Lecha. We give to you, meaning we give to Moshe the ability to have this Ner Talmud. So shleima, the resolution answer is Shebehagil Lo Yidatam Neshama B'derech L'mayil L'mato. Through the revelation of the essence of the neshama that comes about through above to below, meaning through the Rebbe. So when it's coming from the Rebbe, so then there's a difference between Erev and Beiker, evening, and of course in spiritual terms, and morning in spiritual terms. The main revelation, that's from the neshama, when it's coming from above, when it's coming from the Rebbe's ability and not from our own. So therefore, when it's Erev, when there's darkness, when there's pushback, then we push. And that causes the Mesiras Nefesh to be revealed, being pushed by the communists or whatever it is that's from outside of us is revealing, is pulling it out. As we explained in Sifyud. We said specifically in those times, that's what caused it. But when they came out to freedom, it wasn't that way. Like we said, that also those people that were in time of the decree, which was Erev, they stood in the Mesiras Nefesh. When they came to a place they could do Torah mitzvahs easily, Bar Chava, which is Beiker, so therefore the Mesiras Nefesh that they had wasn't the same level as it was before. And this is what he's saying. This is the break when it's an Erev. That's what we said. Because in the pasuk says an Erev Beiker, and then we had in the other pasuk it says Talmud. So why is it Merad Beiker? Because when it's coming from the Rebbe, and that's all it's coming from the Rebbe, it's giving us stability. But if that's what you're jumping off, therefore when you have the Erev, when you have the pressure, you can pull it through. But when it comes Beiker, when it comes into freedom, it's much more difficult. But to have Ner Talmud, it's only through us. The Hamid is in Ner Talmud, She'ein Shayach Bo Shinui, the main idea, the Ner Talmud, that there can't be any change. Hu al Yedei Avodah from Yisroel. This is through our own avodah. Shegam Kerches Agiluyim, Yiyu Chadim Etzem Neshama V'Ikra Elecha. And also the Kerches Agiluyim, also the revealed parts of us, the way we live our lives is connected with our Etzem Neshama. That's V'Ikra Elecha, that's what we bring to you. That's when it's real. That's Ner Talmud. And ultimately, this is exactly the same thing we said yesterday, and this is one of the main themes that are going on over here, is that ultimately, the Rebbe's job is to give us the ability to make it our own. But he can't make it our own. That's the message. He gives you the ability, he gives you the chassidus, he gives you the answers, he gives you the letters, you got the videos, you got everything you want. But all that is intended that it become yours. And that's it. This is an important point. Like we said yesterday, Chabad Mon Pnimius. It has to become yours. That all that you learn, when it comes to Gimmel Tammuz Verbringen, as we talked about yesterday, it comes to the Gimmel Tammuz Verbringen, you shouldn't come and say to yourself, where can I go get inspired? You should be inspiring yourself. Now, of course, I'm not saying you can't go to other Verbringens, but you should be able to Verbring with yourself and with your friends and have something to say, something that you're living with, something you're working on, something you're trying to internalize. That's how it's meant to be. It's not just a constant, let me go to this year, listen to this year, listen to this year. What do I have? I have to have my own things. And that's what we're saying here. But ultimately, if you don't have your own, and it's always from somewhere else, the Rebbe can give you everything. But if you don't make it your own, it's never going to be chad im etzem. You're never going to be one with ideas. They become one of the ideas when they become yours. It's according to this, we can explain this that being crashed with a luminary. In the time of Galus, the pressures of Galus. Now we're going to understand why it says Kas Lamar is connected to the Yikra Lecha, which we bring to you. Because Lamar, when we say Kas Lamar, it includes the Gam Zesh Yisrael Haim Shavur Midachim Mekasim Zeshem Galus. Kasis lamar, the Rebbe is saying it doesn't just mean that there's a communist and there's something outside of you that's causing you to be kasis. Kasis also means just the reality that I'm in Golus and I'm crushed. I don't like it. And that's what, and through us being kasis, we're going to have to bring v'yikrei lecha. We can add, because before we were saying basically that the only way you can be v'yikrei lecha, you can bring to Moshe, is when it becomes totally ours. And the implication of kasis was an external thing, and therefore it wasn't internalized within us, and therefore how could we give anything to Moshe? It's not ours. But they're ever saying the kasis doesn't just mean from outside; it also means from inside. The fact that you're in Golus and you're kasis. The Indian zehu al yidei avodah shel Yisroel, which is all about through our own avodah. Shegam keches giluim shelahem you masim latan neshama. They also are revealed keches. The way we are, the way we live our lives is connected, is one with the etzem neshama. Ubechinas hamar the neshama, and the mar, the illuminator of the neshama. Hashem is gali al yidei, that's revealed through this. He etzem haneshama kamei shimushesh v'atzis. This is the essence of the neshama as it is in atzmos. This is the highest level in neshama. And the highest level of neshama can only be reached, can only be revealed through ourselves. That's why it says kasis lamar. That's why they say it together, because of the fact that it's through us being crushed just from the reality that we don't like the reality as it is, the fact that we're still in Golus and the suffering, and it shouldn't happen. It's enough. It doesn't make any sense, and that bothers us, and that's helping us reveal the Atzim Neshama, and all this is coming out through the help of what the Rebbe gives us. And ultimately, when you take that, that's the kasis, and that's V'yikrei Elecha, and then we can add in Moshe. Similarly, now I said it all in the practical terms. It's talking about the Rebbe. The Rebbe is, if you want to be a literalist, the Rebbe says, I'll explain to you in English. So too, this idea is not just in Moshe Rabbeinu, but it's in the Rebbe. Admar, and this is the Reinu. So too, in regards to in our generation, the Rebbe. We saw that his job is to reveal the emunah that's within every single yid. It's at etzem neshama. He. And this is if we didn't get it till now, he's saying it clear. The whole purpose of the Rebbe is to reveal the Atzam Neshama that you have in order that you make it your own. The ad shiu ner tamid, to the extent it should be ner tamid. Just like we said before, once it becomes your own, truly your own, then it doesn't have shinuyim. There's no shinuyim l'mayla, there's no changes. So it's not, there's no ev and boiker. Ner tamid. There's no shinui, it's also within us. Also the way we live our lives, it's this way. And through this, through being able to do this, and through trying to work on this and trying to get there, we merit the Geula Mitzvah Shleima, the complete and ultimate Geula. That then therefore, and then the revelation of godliness will be even below, even in this physical world, we'll see the revelation of godliness. But ultimately, what we're saying is that's all comes about through our avodah, through us making it our own. Havas Hashemen, Vadlakas and Eres, and then we'll be bringing the oil and the lighting of the menorah, V'yikrei Lecha, Hashem should bring to you oil, like it says in the Apostle. Allah is Tammuz, should be consistent, a constant light. Gam Begashmis, also just physically, with the base of Mikdash, not just spiritually, of all this avodah that we've been talking about, but even just physically in the base of Mikdash with the menorah. Begula mitzvah shleima, ayidei Mashiach tzidkeinu b'karav mamash. I skipped the page somehow. With the coming of Mashiach, speaking that is. I don't know how that happened. Anyway, tomorrow we'll finish it up. Yeah, I missed one page. Okay, anyway. Tomorrow we'll finish it up. The last list again, and do a chazara. So the point is, like we said before, and then we just keep reiterating, the point is very fundamental. Ultimately, the Rebbe's Rab, and this is coming into Gimmel Tammuz and thinking about the Rebbe's in a certain sense, the Rebbe's message to us before he realizes that he's not going to always be able to be with us in the physical way that was before. Saying, listen, I gave you the tools. My job is to inspire you, to inspire yourselves. And you go out and do it, and you have to do it. Now our job is to learn the Chassidus, to apply the Chassidus, to make it our own. Till when you go down the street, you got to speak to someone, tell them a vart, and it's your vart, because you learned it well enough and you appreciate it enough that it's like when you have a question. I'll end off with this quick vart, and then we'll see you tomorrow. When I was in yeshiva, I didn't have such a great, my learning wasn't so good, but I was there, yeshiva learning. And so one time I had a very good teacher. Really, he was very helpful. I was learning Gemara, and I struggled with learning Gemara. We're learning Gemara, Shitesvis, and he would explain it very well. And he'd ask you questions and really try to bring it out. And what he was trying to do was exactly this point: was trying to make it your own, and it worked one time. So it was like a question. The Taste had a question in the Gemara on how to read the Gemara, and the question was a good question. I understood it. It bothered me. It was passionate. It became my question. It was my question. And I was like, wow, it bothers. And it bothered me. It wasn't because Taisa says, and I learned his question also. I understand Taisa's question. It became my question, which is exactly what we're talking about, what we're trying to do. And we got an answer, but the answer was good, but the question was still strong. And it really affected me. I was really excited. So after share, we went to his lunch, and I went to a friend of mine. I said, Tomorrow I got to share this Gemara. This is these problems. I'll show it to you. And you're like, he's like, okay, cool, whatever. So after lunch, we went, and it was on a German break. I opened it up, and I started reading the question. I found the question, and he already knew there's an answer. So he's like, okay, so what's the answer? And I'm like, no. You don't get it. Like it doesn't bother you. It should bother you. And he's like, yeah, okay, I get the question. And he repeats me the question. I'm like, no, it didn't bother him as it bothered me. And this is the point. Whoever wants these things to bother us the way it bothers him. And how do we do that? It's through learning. And not just, and so this guy, he learned what I said. But what the Rebbe was trying to do and wants us to do is to make it ours. And when there's an issue that the Rebbe comes up with, and the Rebbe says there's an issue that the concept called Miyahudi and the law in Eretz Yisrael, who is a Jew, is being tampered with and it shouldn't be. So you can't come and say, so the Rebbe doesn't want you to come and go to the Israeli government and say, hey, the Lavater Rebbe says we shouldn't do this. The Rebbe wants it to become our problem. And this is so too with Mashiach, and so too everything we're learning. And the Etzem Neshama, we should want to reveal Etzem Neshama, not because the Rebbe wants to reveal Etzem Neshama within us, but because we should want it within ourselves. And this is the point of what we're saying, to be continued, finish off the last place tomorrow. Thank you very much for joining, and have a great, great day.